Hello and welcome to another video on closures. Today we want to look at something which makes closures in Swift very powerful, and this is why we would use them very often. So when we initialize a normal variable, then what we do is we would just type in something like var number is equal to 5. Right, and notice that we have not given it explicitly any type. But if we click on it, then we see that it's of type int. So somehow Swift knows that this can be an integer, and it gave this type automatically. And this is what's called type inference. And the same thing happens also with closures. So when we declare and initialize a closure, then also we have the power of type inference, so that we at the end land with much less code. Great. So in order to demonstrate you how type inference works with closures, I have this example here again. And so we have here a function with a closure as the parameter. And our goal in this video is we want to try to minimize this code block here as much as possible. So we want to step by step look at how we can get rid of unnecessary code. Then let's start with looking at the definition of the sort function. So we can see that by definition we expect two integers here, and then we have a return type of a boolean. Okay, so this is how our closure is defined, and this is also why every information here about its type, so this int and bool, is of course unnecessary, because what else can these variables here, number 1 and number 2, be if not of type int? Because if these would be of type something else, then our code won't run, because this would contradict our definition. So we can get rid of this. So now this looks much better. Let's see what we can do else. So look at this return statement here, and look at how we have one line of code in our closure. And by definition, we know that we want a boolean returned. If we have one line of code, then, well, what other line can we return? So this, of course, is also unnecessary. This line of code, this is the return statement. Good. Then let's just have a look at these variables. So the only usage here for our two variables is this line of code. And we know that we have two variables in our closure that we have to use. The one comes first and the other comes second. So why are we declaring extra variables for that? This can of course be reduced. We can actually get rid of all this, and then we just type in $0 is greater than $1. And this is basically just the first input of the closure, so it's the first int, and this is the second one. So now our code looks really great. Let's just compromise this. But even now we can do better, and this is very useful. So let's look at our definition again, and notice how our closure is the last parameter of this function. And every time we know that we have a closure as the last parameter of the function, we can actually just cut off our brackets and just have this closure after our function name. So now we have reached a form which is very common, but indeed with this function we can compromise it even further. So what we do again is we would just write out our function brackets again, and now we just simply type in greater than. And this just basically says everything. If we would now compare it with our code from the beginning, well, you see the difference. So thank you a lot for watching.